What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Having a little bit of a different video for you today. We still have a couple of our season previews to get to, but wanted to talk today about the format that you'll be seeing with High Limit in 2024. Now, I've had this board put together for quite a while, but I've kind of been very sick here over the last week or so. Got sick at the Chili Bowl, then had another illness come through, and I've kind of been bedridden for the last week and a half, and so I haven't been able to do any videos here for the channel. So what we're going to be doing is looking at this format based on 32 cars being in the pit area for a high limit race, and we'll be comparing and contrasting compared to what the Outlaws had or have and what the All-Stars used to have as well. And so hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully this clarifies a couple of things for people that may be a little bit confused, because sometimes in dirt racing, formats can be confusing. So we'll start off with qualifying. When there are 32 cars with the High Limit Racing Series, the qualifying order will be split into two groups, a Flight A and a Flight B, and those drivers in those respective flights will qualify against themselves and line themselves up for 2 heat races in Flight A and 2 heat races in Flight B. How the flights are put together, though, is different from what we see with the All-Stars and with the Outlaws. The groups will actually be seated, meaning, let's just take, for example, Rico Abreu and Brad Sweet. More than likely, those two guys will not be in the same flight unless like a Kyle Larson shows up, right? And then maybe you'll see like Rico and Brad in one, and then Kyle in Flight B, right? But more than likely, you're going to see a guy like Rico and a guy like Brad separated in the flights. They will more than likely not be in the same heat race or the same flight throughout the season, unless some pretty high-profile drivers also are in the field there as well. So then they will qualify, obviously, and one other difference I should note is that at 32 cars is when the field is split with High Limit. The difference there from the Outlaws is they split their field at 38 cars, so it only takes 6 less cars for the field to be split in two when it comes to High Limit. And the other difference when it comes to the All-Stars, the way that they did their qualifying, when a driver signed in for an All-Star race, they were put into a random heat race out of the 4 or 5 heat races, depending on how many cars there were. And so with the All-Stars, the one flaw that they kind of had with their deal is you could literally have the top 7 or 8 guys in All-Star points all in the same heat race. It was just kind of luck of the draw. You will not have that when it comes to high limit sprint car racing in 2024. So that goes over qualifying. Then we'll jump into the heat races and how the heats are lined up. So like I said earlier, Flight A is going to have 2 heat races. Flight B is going to have 2 heat races as well. So this would be a sample heat race lineup for, let's say, the first heat race in Flight A. It's going to be lined up by 3rd place in qualifying. He'll be on the pole. 5th place in qualifying. He'll be outside the front row. Then 7th quick. And then your quick time qualifier will be on the 4th position starting every single night with High Limit. Then it goes 9th, 11th, 13th, and 15th. Then if we look at the second heat race in Flight A, it would be basically the same thing, but it would be 2, 4, 8, then the second quick qualifier, and then so on and so forth, and then it'd be the same thing for Flight B, right? So the fastest qualifier in each heat race is going to start from the 4th position, and then we'll take the top 5 that transfer out of the heat races to the feature event. How this differs from the World of Outlaws format is the quick time qualifier always started on the pole, right? It was going to be quick time, then it was going to be 3rd, then it was going to be 5th, then it was going to be 7th. It was a straight up format all the way throughout the night with the Outlaws. This heat race lineup is the same, though, when it came to the All-Stars. So they had the same format with the heat races for the All-Stars, but much different when it comes to the Outlaws. We're going to take the top 5, transferring out of each heat race, going straight to the feature event. Another big difference for this format is when it comes to the dash. So to get into the dash with High Limit next season, you are going to have to win the heat race, or you're going to have to be the fastest transfer car, the fastest transfer car that is inside those top 5 positions. So let's just say this 3rd place guy in qualifying, he wins the heat race. This guy right here, he ends up inside the top 5. Both of them are going to be in the dash. Now, where things get a little bit different, though, is if this guy right here, the quick timer in the heat race, goes from 4th and wins the heat race, then he will be in the dash, and then the second place car in that heat race will be in the dash as well. And another difference is going to be if that does happen where the fourth place starter ends up winning the heat race, that guy is automatically going to get the best draw position that he could possibly get in the redraw on the front straightaway. So what that means is if this guy wins in heat race number 1, let's say, he is going to be automatically on the pole of the dash. And in the very rare instance where every single heat race is won from the fourth position, those 4 guys will go 1, 2, 3, 4 in the dash redraw and start automatically in the first 2 rows. I don't foresee that happening very often throughout the season, but I'm sure it'll happen maybe once a night or once every other night where we get a guy going from 4th to the win. But the competition is so close right now that it's probably not going to happen all that often. So that's how the dash will be lined up. And then when it comes to the B main, it's more of the same with all the other formats. 6th through 8th in the heat races will be lined straight up in the B main, and then they will take the top 4 out of that to the back of the feature. Then in the A main, that is lined up kind of similar to what you'd see with the Outlaws and with the All-Stars. The finish of the dash will line up the first 4 rows. Then the 3rd through 5th in the heat races will line up behind them, and then you'll have your B main transfers following those drivers for a 24-car field. Going a certain amount of laps, somewhere between 30 and 40, is going to be my guess for most racetracks. So hopefully that kind of clarifies a little bit how the format is going to work and how it differs from the Outlaws and differs from the All-Stars. Some other things to look at here is the points breakdown for the features every single night with high limit. So if you win the feature, you're going to get 77 championship points, and then second place will get 72, third place 68, fourth place 65, and fifth place 63. How that differs from the Outlaws, from first to second with the Outlaws, it is just a 4-point gap, and then from every position, from second to third all the way back to 24th, is a 2-point gap. High limit is quite different, with 5 there, 4 there, then 3, and then 2 all the way back. So quite a big difference compared to what the Outlaws have. So if you win a race and you finish 6th in this one, it is going to be a pretty big difference as far as how many points are separated from from 1st to 6th compared to what the World of Outlaws had. I'm not familiar with what the All-Stars had as far as their points goes, but that is what it is when it comes to high limit versus the World of Outlaws. Another weird thing, and another thing that I'm not sure how it's going to work out, I'm very interested to see how it does work out, and I like what they're doing, just trying to be a little bit different with high limit, is this section here. So for a standard 2-day show, the top 4 finishers, if there are 32 cars in the pit area, from one night until to the next, those 4 drivers will not have to qualify for the second night feature event, for the second night's program. Those 4 drivers will automatically start from the 4th position in those heat races. They will not have to qualify, they'll skip qualifying, but they will start from that 4th position in the heat races for a standard 2-day show. This is not going to be for every single race, right? There's going to be some events that have some special formats and things like that, but let's just say for the very first race of the year at East Bay, we run back-to-back nights at the same track, you're going to see this come into play. And so if you want more information on how that's going to work, I recommend going to highlimitracing.com. There's a full-blown article on there with this entire format, and you can read more on that and how it's going to work with the series all next year in 2024. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is the Durst dice roll. Not exactly a part of the format by any means, but just something that's a little bit different than what you would see with any other series. So what's going to happen is before the feature event every single night, we're going to have a fan that comes out onto the front stretch, and that fan is picked from the pre-sale tickets that are sold for each and every event. They're going to pick a random fan to roll 2 dice. Whatever the sum of those 2 dice are, let's just say it's 6, that fan is going to be cheering on the guy that starts 6th in the main event. If that guy goes from 6th to win, then an extra $6,000 will be paid out. $3,000 of it will go to the driver, and $3,000 of it will go to the fan. So every single night, a fan in the grandstands has a good shot to potentially leave with some extra money, and quite a bit of extra money, I might add. I mean, if a guy rolls the 12, a fan rolls the 12, that fan could potentially leave with $6,000 at the end of the night if the driver goes from 12th to the win that started in that 12th position. So a very cool thing that High Limit has put together with that Durst Dice Roll to kind of engage with the fans a little bit more and make people excited about being at the races. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of people watching at home on Flow, but if you go to that race and you buy a pre-sale ticket, there is a chance that you will be able to roll the Durst Dice and maybe potentially leave with a little bit of extra cash. So that's all I've got for the format with the High Limit Sprint Cars in 2024. Hopefully it cleared some things up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on the format with High Limit down in the comment section below. And I'll be back here very soon with another season preview. This one will be for Casey Kane for 2024. That video will be uploaded here very soon. We'll see you guys in the next one.